My family is Mary, Michael, and me. Mary, my mother, has always worked hard to ensure that we have a decent future. My father left us many years ago, and Mary was the one who took full responsibility for our family well-being. Michael, my brother, was young and full of dreams. He dreamed of an easy and carefree life in which there was no need to worry about finances or the future. Our days passed among games and laughter, and it seemed that nothing could break this idyll. But suddenly everything changed. Mary got sick, and it wasn't an ordinary illness. It was a terrible illness that forced her to stop working. Debts began to accumulate, and medical bills became more and more. My brother Michael grew up with the idea that the world should offer him only joy and pleasure. Michael was the type of guy who was always looking for ways to have fun playing with friends and dreaming of a future full of adventure and wealth. We all dream of something bigger at some point in our lives, but for Michael, this dream has become his main goal. He didn't see the need to study hard or work hard to earn a living. Michael dreamed of an easy and carefree life, and this dream began to destroy our family when Mary got sick. The following events in our family became a test for all of us, and especially for Michael, who realized that dreams of an easy life can sometimes become unattainable if you don't make an effort. Every day my mother's illness, Mary, became more severe. Medical bills grew exponentially, and debts began to accumulate. My mother has always been a pillar of our family and has worked tirelessly to ensure a good future for us, but now she had to stop and fight for her health. My brother, Michael, reacted to the situation in his own specific way. He began to express his dissatisfaction and irritation. Michael accused me, Helen, of wanting to inherit the house and all the property that my father left behind. His words hurt me, and our quarrels became part of our daily life. Michael spent more and more time with friends, disappearing from home for long hours. Our relationship deteriorated every day, and it was painful for me to see how the family that was once so close to us was falling apart. While our conflicts intensified, Mary's debts continued to grow, and I understood that something had to change, otherwise our family would remain torn and broken. Quarrels and tensions in the family became unbearable. Michael and I couldn't find a common language, and my mother, Mary, fell into a deep depression because of her illness and conflicts in the family. Our home, which was once a place of warmth and happiness, has turned into a place of tension and grief. I understood that something had to change, and I decided to start with myself. To understand the causes of our conflicts and save our family, I needed to find the truth about our past. I began to actively search for information about our father, who passed away from our life many years ago. One day, while looking through old documents and photos, I came across an old letter that my mother, Mary, had been hiding from us all these years. It was a letter from my father, written before he left. I read it, and what I learned caused shock and grief in my heart. This letter revealed a secret about the father who left us many years ago, but also left a promise to return. After opening the letter from my father and learning his story, I felt that my eyes were open to the vast possibilities and deep secrets hidden in our family history. It was a turning point in my life and the life of the whole family. The letter told about how my father left us to save the family from financial collapse. Finding himself in a difficult situation, he decided to leave in order to find a way to return with money and secure our future. But time passed, and he did not return. It turned out that our father not only left us, but also left us an inheritance that we didn't even know about. This inheritance could cover our debts and provide us with a good future. But first, I had to figure out how to get it. This discovery caused many different emotions in our family. Michael regretted his words and tried to make peace with me, but I was too offended with him. Mary, despite depression and illness, decided to return to treatment, hoping that she would be able to survive and return to normal life. It was a difficult moment for all of us, but together we decided that our family future was worth fighting for. The revelation of my father's inheritance became a point of revision for our family. Michael, although he realized that his words and actions were unfair to his sister and mother, was not ready to change his lifestyle. He continued to be unemployed and did not want to go to school or look for a job. His dissatisfaction with the decision of the fate of our family remained. Mary, despite her illness and difficulties, got back on her feet and returned to work. Her willpower and determination inspired us all. We realized that family is what really matters, and together we can overcome any difficulties. Our family relations remained strained, and I decided that it was time to try to resolve our conflicts. I organized a family meeting in the hope that we could find a common solution and continue the fight for our future together. The meeting was tense. The words were quickly replaced by sharp expressions and tears. We argued bitterly, but eventually came to an agreement that we should continue the inheritance proceedings together despite our conflicts. Family is not only joy and happiness, but also the ability to cope with difficulties and resolve conflicts together. Continuing to pay $2,500 monthly to pay off my mother's debts, I realized that this was not only financial support, but also a way to express my willingness to help the family. Despite constant arguments and Brother Michael's discontent, I decided not to back down. Michael remained unemployed and showed no interest in changes. He watched how I was responsible for the family finances, and perhaps began to think about my own contribution. But it was obvious that the path to change was long and difficult. And in the meantime, our own investigations continued, and every day brought new discoveries and riddles that we tried to solve in order to receive our father's inheritance and perhaps solve the mystery of his disappearance. Mary continued to struggle with illness and deep depression. Every day her condition worsened, and conflicts in the family only aggravated her suffering. The illness became a heavy burden for her, which she carried not only physically, but also emotionally. We realized that she needed our support and care most of all. We tried to reduce conflicts and make it easier for her, but there was always hope that our family debts and the mystery of the disappearance of our father, which created an atmosphere of tension and uncertainty, would sooner or later find their solution. I decided it was time to find out the truth about my past in order to understand why Brother Michael is so critical and hostile towards me. My feelings were mixed. I felt determined, but I was also afraid that the truth might be painful. A long and thorough search for information about our past has begun. I studied old photos, correspondence, and documents, trying to find answers to many questions. Each discovery was like a puzzle that slowly formed a picture of my life and family. The deeper I delved into the past, the more I realized the complexity of our family relationships and hidden motives. I understood that the truth could be ambiguous and painful, but I was ready for this in order to find a way to understanding and reconciliation with my brother. In the process of my search for information about the family's past, I came across an old diary that had remained hidden from us until that moment. He turned out to be the key to solving the mystery about the father who left our family many years ago. Reading the diary was like traveling through time. His pages revealed the secret thoughts and experiences of his father, which were previously unknown to us. I learned about his desire to secure our future, about the struggle with his own demons, and about the difficulties that tormented him. But most importantly, I found out why he left and why he decided to leave us. This truth was shocking and bitter, but it also explained a lot. In the course of my investigation, I learned not only about my father's past and his reasons for leaving, but also that he left us a huge inheritance, which we did not even suspect. This news was like lightning from a clear sky, and I felt that the world around me was changing. Father left us not only a material inheritance, but also his message, in which he expressed hope for our future and showed his love for us. It was like a revelation, and I realized that even in the most difficult moments, he was still thinking about us. This information caused a wave of emotions in our family. At first there was shock, then joy and a lot of questions about how to use this inheritance. But at the same time, it gave us a new opportunity, a new start, and a chance for a better future. After we found out about my father's inheritance and solved the mystery of his departure, Michael regretted his words and his behavior. He realized that his criticism and accusations against me were unfair and wrong. And although he was ready to reconcile with me, I remained too offended and vulnerable. My feelings were excited and mixed. On the one hand, I longed for reconciliation and reunion with my brother, but on the other hand, I felt that the past could not just be forgotten. The pain and resentment remained inside me, and this prevented me from opening my heart to Michael. Michael made attempts to approach me, apologized, and expressed his hope that we could restore our relationship. But I wasn't ready for this step. Our family wounds were too deep, and I needed more time and self-understanding to decide how to move on. My mother, despite deep depression and ongoing struggle with the disease, decided to return to treatment. It was a decision she made not only for herself, but also for us, her family. She hoped that the treatment would give her a chance of survival. Her determination was inspiring. We saw how she struggles with pain and physical difficulties every day. Her willpower and determination gave us all hope and faith in a better future. We supported her in this decision, trying to create the most comfortable conditions for her during treatment. I decided to take the path of fighting for my father's inheritance to ensure the future of my family. This decision was not an easy one, but I felt that I had a responsibility to use this inheritance so that it would benefit the whole family. My brother did not represent a reliable supporter in this matter. I saw how his thirst for wealth and carelessness could lead to the fact that he would just grab everything for himself, not realizing that this money should go to the benefit of the whole family. My struggle was not only for the inheritance, but also for the values and interests of our family. I was ready to use this inheritance as a tool to ensure the future, investing it in education, health, and well-being of our family. But at the same time, I understood that this struggle could create even more tension in my relationship with my brother. My mom went back to work to help us pay off our debts and provide for her treatment. This step was another manifestation of her incredible strength and determination. Mom understood that the financial difficulties of the family bear a heavy burden, and she was ready to make efforts to ease our situation. Her return to work was an important step in our family struggle. We saw how she overcame physical and emotional difficulties every day to provide us and herself with treatment. Michael expressed his dissatisfaction with the fact that I decided to go to trial regarding my father's inheritance. He believed that this would only worsen our relationship and take away time and money that could have been used in a different way. This clash of opinions has created a new wave of tension in our family. Michael saw the trial as an extra burden for us, while I believed that this was the only way to ensure justice and the rights of our family. Our conflict was acute, and words uttered in the heat of an argument could have caused even more wounds. The situation in our family became increasingly tense due to the conflict between Michael and me regarding the trial of my father's inheritance. We were going through difficult moments, and I understood that something had to change so that we could move on as a family. So I decided to hold a family meeting to resolve our conflicts. Mom, Michael, and I were at the meeting. Our emotions were high, and at first the conversation was filled with sharp words and quarrels. Tears flowed, and it seemed that our family would split forever. However, gradually, we began to listen to each other and understand that each of us has our own fears, hopes, and pains. At a family meeting, Michael expressed his opinion that he should receive the money, since he considered himself a man in the house. This statement caused a new wave of tension in our family, and our emotions were at the limit. My mother expressed her doubts about this position, saying that the most important thing is to use my father's inheritance to ensure the future of the whole family, and not to satisfy one of us. I felt that it was unfair and inappropriate for modern times. Our family has always had equal opportunities and rights for all members, regardless of gender. After long quarrels and disagreements in our family, we had to face another bitter truth. The revelation about the true value of the father's inheritance left us in shock. For a long time, we believed that this inheritance would save our family from financial problems and help us cope with Mary's debts. But the reality turned out to be harsh. The family meeting at which we were confronted with this truth was filled with silence and bitterness of disappointment. We were overcome by a sense of loss and helplessness. We expected that our future would be better thanks to the inheritance, but now we had to reconsider our plans and expectations. Mary, despite her condition, realized that she would have to continue working and fighting for her health and the financial well-being of her family. Michael didn't seem to realize the whole stalemate of the situation, staying at home on the couch while I worked hard at work, paying $2,500 for debts and mother's treatment. He could see how I struggled and tried to settle the financial difficulties of the family, but his attitude to this was far from supportive. Michael thought that everything was easy for me and made no effort to help. His inaction only intensified our conflicts and disagreements. I felt anger and resentment, seeing that he did not show interest in our family situation. We found ourselves in a difficult situation where our family was torn apart due to disagreements and misunderstandings. The situation with Michael became even more complicated when it turned out that he was not only inactive, but also asked for money from his mother to buy computer games. He claimed that it helps him relax and forget about problems. It was another blow for me. Instead of supporting the family and getting closer at this difficult moment, Michael continued to live his life, despite financial difficulties and his mother's illness. His words that it was better for him only intensified my feelings of powerlessness and misunderstanding. Mom continued to be silent in relation to Michael. He was her favorite son, and perhaps this was one of the reasons why she did not express her displeasure to him. Mom kept hoping that he would eventually come to an understanding and begin to show more responsibility. But life showed a completely different picture. Our beloved son did the least for the well-being of the family, even being the only man in our home team. His inaction and his requests for money for computer games only made the situation worse. My mother remained in a difficult situation, not knowing how to solve this difficult moral dilemma. She loved her son, but she saw him moving away from his family and ignoring her problems. In this situation, the silence of the mother became a symbol of the complexity of our relationship and the disappointment that she experienced when she saw how the beloved son goes aside when his presence and support would be most needed. Finally, we found out the real amount of my father's inheritance, only $20,000. It was a great disappointment for all of us. We had hoped for so long that this money would solve our financial problems, but the reality turned out to be harsh. This amount was not able to cover all of Mary's debts, much less provide a stable future for the whole family. We realized that we would have to look for other ways to cope with our financial situation. Michael may have been relieved to learn that the amount was not as large as he thought, but it also highlighted the need for changes in his attitude towards his family and responsibility to it. After talking to a lawyer, I began to realize that I had a better chance of getting my father's inheritance. This information gave me hope and motivation to continue fighting for the future of our family. I realized that it was not only for me, but also for my mother and Michael. When I got home, Michael immediately announced that he would take $13,500 from the inheritance and buy himself a car. He didn't care about his debts and his mother's treatment. This statement caused a new conflict in our family, and I was ready to defend my inheritance rights based on the belief that it would help us more than a new car. We were at a crossroads, and each of us had our own vision of how to use this money. I told Michael I wouldn't give him anything. I explained that I would be able to manage money better in order to pay off debts and provide treatment for my mother. My words were full of determination and confidence. I no longer wanted our money to be spent on unnecessary things while we had real financial problems. Michael may have been disappointed with my decision, but at that moment I felt that this was the only right way for us. We had to cope with our financial instability and secure the future of our family. This moment was a turning point in our relationship. We have finally learned how to work together and make decisions that best serve the interests of the whole family. However, for all of us, the consequences were shocking. Michael inherited it. When he finally got the money, his first step was to say that he was going to buy a car. It was like a punch in the stomach. I went home feeling mixed emotions, resentment and disappointment. We spent so much time in conflicts and tense conversations, and I was sure that the inheritance would go to the well-being of the family. Faced with the fact that the money went to the car, I felt a bitter sense of misunderstanding and betrayal. In the evening, Michael returned home. I was ready for a conversation full of accusations and insults, but he said something that turned everything around. It turned out that he had deceived me. He used the inheritance he received to pay off his family's debts and pay for his mother's treatment. He apologized to me for his decision not to share this information beforehand and admitted that he was too proud to seem weak. He also promised that he would get a job and make efforts to support his family. At that moment, I realized that Michael was not hopeless, as it seemed to me, but a real man who was able to take responsibility and act for the sake of the family. This moment became an inflection point in our relationship. We realized that only together we can cope with any difficulties, and that family conflicts can be a catalyst for change and help us better understand and appreciate each other.